one way to kind of use all of that stuff is to get your hands around a concept called building blocks. And if you'll notice on the left side, basically all of those steps that we went through created a different category of bullet points, and I basically put those bullet points together into what I call building blocks. So there's a value points block, a pain points block, a pain questions block, current environment, name drop, product, and whatnot. So these are all building blocks. And now that we have these building blocks, we can use them to build a bunch of different documents. By the way, as you may or may not know, my company that I founded is called SalesScriptor. And the day that I had the idea for SalesScriptor is when I started to think about these building blocks. And where all this comes from is that the first company, before I had SalesScriptor, I had a telemarketing appointment setting business service that we made cold calls for other small businesses. And each time a client hired us, I had the job of interviewing my clients to create their script. And basically what I would do is when I would interview them, I would take them through a process similar to what we just finished, which was going through all those steps. I would, what is it we're selling? Who are we targeting? What are the benefits, pain points? What are some questions we could ask? What is a customer example and whatnot? I would use those individual points to initially create a cold call script. But after I started going through that process again and again, I realized I could use those same points to create cold emails. I could use those same points for voicemail messages and objection responses. And it was that realization that I realized I have something here. This is a valuable process that that could be repeatable. And what I ended up doing is start giving these playbooks to my cold callers, and then I thought of a way to turn that repeatable process into a software application, and that's when I created SalesScriptor. Basically, SalesScriptor has a sales message builder which takes you through that process that we just went through, and then there's a second area called a playbook which has a bunch of templates, which is what I'm going to show you next. And the software basically just allows you to build these building blocks, and then the software puts all the building blocks together into all these different combinations to create all these different documents. That's what SalesScriptor does. I'm going to show you some different combinations that you can use these building blocks. So first of all, one of the most important things that salespeople want or need is a cold call script or a warm call script or whatever. I refer to this as a call script, and you could modify it to use it more for cold calling or warm calling or whatever. But notice that if I organize those building blocks over here on the left in this order, this is basically a call script. All I have to do is really stick an intro at the beginning, maybe a close at the end, and here I have a call script. And so let me show you what that looks like. So the introduction, here's an introduction. How are you? Hello, prospect. This is me, and I'm with Website Global. Have I caught you in the middle of anything? So there's the opening. I think using value points or pain points, or you could use a name drop as really the way to establish the call. But in this example, I'll just use the value points. So great. The reason for my call is we help small businesses. And then, by the way, there's like 6 bullet points here. You by no means should read all 6 bullet points. This is just a menu of things you could say. These are your talk tracks. So say 1 point. If your points are all short, you could say 2 or 3. But the reason for my call is we help businesses to increase the revenue generated through their website. I'm not sure if we're a good fit with you. That's why I'm reaching out with a question or two. If I could ask you real quick, how important is it for you to get more revenue out of your website? Some little conversation there. Okay. How important is it for you to improve your website conversion rates? So again, which questions you ask or how many you ask can vary. By the way, also, the left side here is your call script. By no means should you go through one section after another and go all the way from top to bottom. This script is designed to bounce around. If we ask 1 or 2 questions and get great answers, we may skip ahead to the bottom of the script and then close for the meeting. But if we don't get what we need to close for the meeting, we keep moving down the script. By the way, there's a whole training module on how to use this process, this script, and how to bounce around, and I'm not going to do that here today. But as you can see, each building block gives us stuff to talk about in an organized way to our prospect and then a close at the end. So that's an example of how to use your building blocks. And as you can see, when you have your building blocks, it's real easy to do something, to mash it together into different combinations to create different stuff. We can also use your building blocks to create cold emails. So here's a value points cold email using a value point as a subject line. The reason for the emails we help small businesses too, and here's how I help. I don't know if you want to improve any of those areas. That's why I'm reaching out. Are you available for a meeting? So again, there's a whole training module. Check out our YouTube channel on cold email prospecting that explains the structure of this email and how to design these emails. But the point here today is, here's an email you can create with your value points. Here's an email that you can create with your pain points. Here's an email that you can create with your name drop. Pain questions. And here's a product email. By the way, the last email is a product email. Again, getting back to our goal here today, our goal here is to help you to create more of an attention-grabbing sales message. What we've already done is we've given you, the last email that we're giving you is what the first email that the product selling, pushing salespeople send. This is the product email, which we recommend you send at the end of your series. This is email number 1 that 90% or more salespeople send is, this is who I'm with and this is what I sell. Do you need what I sell? And even this email template is a little bit better than that because we remind you to focus more on differentiation, and we're still selling the meeting and not saying, do you need what I sell? Voicemail scripts, we can also use your building blocks to create voicemail scripts. Here's a voicemail message with your value points. Again, there's a whole training module on voicemail strategy, and that explains the logic behind these voicemail messages. Here's one with pain points, name drop, product. Using the building blocks in your head is also an easier way for you to bounce from one topic to another when you're talking to a prospect, and actually to organize this information in your head. And the objection responses is actually a good example of that, because what the product selling salespeople do is whenever they get an objection like, I'm not interested, they try to overcome that objection by talking about their product in more detail. If someone's not interested, they try to make the person interested. So what we do is we redirect back to some of the building blocks. Like for example, when a prospect says, and this is a common cold call objection by either a prospect or a gatekeeper, a common question is, well, what is this in regards to? Instead of saying what the call is in regards to, what it's in regards to is, I'm calling to see if you need my product and I want to schedule an appointment with you to talk about my product, and you would love my product and whatnot. That's really the honest, direct answer for a salesperson. What you can do is you can just go back to your value points. Well, the reason for my call is we help small businesses to increase revenue through their website. So that you're bouncing back to your value. And again, if you keep your building blocks organized in your head, you can get better at responding to objections. Can get easier for you. Meaning, this is an objection response that I'm showing you right here. But if you learn not this response to this objection, but if you learn, because you already know your value points, because your value points are in your email, they're in your voicemail, they're in your call script. So if you already know your value points, what you need to remember here is the mapping. And the mapping is when they say, what's this in regards to, I don't need to remember this response. I need to remember, I respond with my value points. Other objections that are extremely common are, I'm not interested, we can't make any changes right now, we don't have any budget. So a good thing to keep the call going. By the way, there's a whole module on our YouTube channel on dealing with objection handling that goes into the logic and whole number of objections and objection responses. But here's an example of responding to I'm not interested with your pain points. Oh, I understand. But if I could ask you real quick, how well does your website currently tell the story of your services and your company? Can you send me your information? I can certainly do that. So I know what to send you. Could I ask you real quick? And notice, this is a totally different objection, but the response is exactly the same. So If you are not memorizing objection responses, but you're memorizing the mapping, the pain questions are two different objection responses. We already used someone today. we've already purchased something for that. Those are good. You could use your current environment building blocks questions for that. Oh, I understand. What I like to say when they say we already used someone for that. Oh, great. If I could ask you real quick, who are you guys using? How long have you been with them? How's everything going?